Hi guys, and welcome to my channel. Today I'm making a mimosa cake. This recipe has an Italian origin and it's usually made for International Women's Day, which is celebrated on March 8th. Back in 1946, Italian Women's Committee have chosen mimosa flower to be a symbol of International Women's Day. Tiny little mimosa flowers represent the strength and solidarity of women all over the world. So let's make our mimosa cake. For two 8.5-inch round sponge cakes, you will need 4 whole eggs, 8 egg yolks, a cup and a half of flour, 1 cup of sugar, and 1/3 of a cup of cornstarch. You're also gonna need 2 8.5 inches baking spring forms, which we're gonna line with parchment paper and butter the sides. If you have just one, you will have to bake one cake at a time. In a bowl of a stand-up mixer, add 4 eggs and 1 cup of sugar. We're gonna use the whisk attachment and we're gonna aerate this mixture for quite a long time. Usually takes 7 to 10 minutes until this mixture doubles in size. Then gradually start adding 8 egg yolks. And this is a basic recipe for yellow sponge cake, which will also color our sponge, and it will make it yellow without adding any food coloring. Aerate your batter for another 5 minutes until it's very fluffy in a flour sifter, and then we're gonna keep it in the bowl because so it doesn't drip. We're gonna add flour and cornstarch. We're gonna lightly mix those together and we're ready to add flour to our batter. And look how fluffy our egg mixture is. It almost looks like an ice cream base. Using silicone spatula, carefully mix in the flour with cornstarch, and we're going to use this kind of a churning motion to mix in all the flour into our batter. And by using this motion, it's going to aerate our batter even more, and your cakes are going to come out very fluffy and very airy and very yellow. Then you will need to equally divide your batter into 2 spring forms, and I trust your eyesight to do a perfect job. Then shake and churn your spring forms so your batter spreads out evenly. And what you need to do, you need to move a little bit of the batter from the middle to the sides. When your cakes are baked, they can come out a little bit more even. Bake your cakes side by side at 345 degrees Fahrenheit for about 30 to 35 minutes. For vanilla custard, you're gonna need a cup and a quarter of whole milk, a cup and a quarter of heavy cream, 1 cup of sugar, half a cup of flour, 1 teaspoon of vanilla paste, and 8 egg yolks. You will need 2 saucepans, one smaller and one larger. In a smaller saucepan, add your milk and heavy cream, then add your vanilla. In a larger saucepan, we're gonna add our 8 egg yolks. We're gonna add sugar and flour. Mix together egg yolks, flour, and sugar until the smooth paste, and your paste is gonna look very, very thick. Just like that. Start heating up your milk mixture, and your mixture has to be hot but not boiling, and when you touch it, should not burn your finger. That's why I'm using the saucepan, not a microwave, so I can control the temperature. Slowly start introducing your hot milk to a custard base. Add at first maybe under half a cup, then mix it, then you can add a little bit more. If you pour hot milk directly into your custard base, your eggs will cook and your flour will clump up. So that's why it's done gradually. Slowly start bringing your custard to a boil. In a couple of minutes, you will see it's gonna start thickening up, and in a couple more minutes, it's just gonna start the boiling process. And at this point, you're gonna turn off the heat and you're gonna remove your custard from the heat, and it's done. To cool your custard quickly, you need to use a shallow baking dish, which is going to pour our custard into it. And we're gonna try to cool it quickly. The reason I'm using a baking dish, it will also help you to divide your custard between the cakes when it's set. Then you're gonna put the serrano wrap on top of it, and the serrano wrap has to be touching the top of the custard. This way it will not form the crust. And to cool it down quickly, you could put it in the freezer for 20 minutes. Let's check on our cakes. They're done. So just transfer them onto a cooling rack, remove the parchment paper, and let them cool completely. For a soaking syrup, you're gonna need 1/4 cup of sugar, 1/2 cup of water, 3½ tablespoons of orange liqueur. I'm using Cointreau. In a small saucepan, add your water, sugar, and orange liqueur. We're gonna bring it to a boil. Soaking syrups are usually used in a lot of cake making. That's gonna make your cakes very moist. Put your saucepan on the stove to boil, and the boiling process will evaporate the alcohol in our soaking syrup and just leave you with a nice orange flavor. For whipped cream topping, you're gonna need 1 cup of heavy cream and 2½ tablespoons of powdered sugar. In a small mixing bowl, add your heavy cream. Then we're going to use electric mixer to mix it until it thickens up. And we're going to use medium to high speed at first. Then we're going to add our powdered sugar, and we're going to continue mixing it until the stiff peaks. And your creamy topping is done. You can leave it in the mixing bowl, but I'm going to transfer it into a smaller bowl. This will help me to divide the mixture equally between the cakes. To assemble my cake, I'm going to use the cake ring. It's just going to help me to assemble this cake perfectly. With long slicing knife, we need to remove this golden crust from the cakes. And as I am removing the crust, you will see the cake is yellow. And we also need to trim the sides of the cake, so just trim it all the way around so you have nothing left but the yellow cake. You see, it's yellow all the way around. All we need to do is slice each cake in half. And the reason my cake is so yellow, guys, if you're in US, I'm using the brand for the eggs. It's called the Happy Eggs. And the yolks of these eggs are extremely yellow. We're gonna use 3 layers to make the cake and 1 layer to make our mimosa flowers. You see, I'm frosting here. Put your cake ring on the frosting table. It would be easier for you to assemble this cake and have everything ready. So we have our sweet cream, we have our soaking syrup, and we have our custard. Let's make mimosa cake. Put your first cake in the ring, and we're gonna use the soaking syrup. So use 1/3 of your soaking syrup to soak your first cake. Then we're gonna use 1 tablespoon of the sweet cream just to apply very thin layer of it. Then you're gonna add a vanilla custard, and as you can see, the reason I use the shallow dish, it will help you visually divide your custard into 3 cakes. And we're gonna put another cake down. Then we're gonna use the soaking syrup again. Then we're gonna use another 1/3 of our sweet cream, and then vanilla custard again. And you're gonna repeat this process until you frost all your cake layers. So you're gonna have 3 cake layers. And I am using for my cake ring a size, I think it's 8½ inches. That's gonna make your cake very high. It's gonna look so beautiful, guys. And this ring actually will help you to keep your cake all intact so it doesn't slide when you frost it. And also when you remove the ring, you will see how even your cake is gonna look like. I will enclose the link where I got my cake ring. It's adjustable, so look down in the description box for a link. Reserve about 5 tablespoons of that vanilla custard so we can frost the sides of the cake. Then put the serrano wrap back on top of the cake, and we're gonna let it soak through for half an hour. In the meantime, out of this fourth layer, we're gonna cut down our mimosa flowers. Using sharp bread knife, we're gonna cut the strips of that layer, and each strip we're gonna cut into 1/4 of an inch little cubes. And these cubes are gonna represent our mimosa flowers. You know, the ones you see outside, they're like everywhere. They're like little blankets of mimosa flowers in the springtime. And here's your blanket of mimosa flowers. Let it air dry until your cake is soaking through. You don't need to refrigerate your cake for the soaking time, just leave it on the counter. And after that, we're gonna remove the serrano wrap and we're gonna remove our cake ring. And look how perfectly even this cake looks. Now all we need to do, we need to frost the sides of the cake so we can adhere our little mimosa flowers to it. And as I go around frosting the cake, you can see clearly the layers of the cake. So you're gonna have this yellow cake with a touch of sweet cream, which is white, and the yellow vanilla custard. And whatever you have left from your vanilla custard, you could just put it on top of the cake and then just spread it out evenly. Then just take your cake mimosa flowers and start putting them on top of the cake. And also don't forget the sides and make sure all the little squares are touching your vanilla custard. This way when you slice your cake, they're not gonna fly around and they're gonna be really secured on top of the cake. But already look how beautiful this cake looks. It is a very unusual cake and certainly something you will never see every day or like in your bakery. Beautiful mimosa cake for International Women's Day. In Russia, this holiday is so popular that men run around looking for mimosa flowers or perhaps any flowers if there are any left. And women on this day, on March 8th, feel extremely special. And let's go back to the cake. I mean, look at this. The cake is so beautiful and look how moist this cake is. I'm sure you're really gonna enjoy it. I want to take this opportunity to wish all women around the world happy International Women's Day. Be loved, be happy, and be creative. Thank you so much for watching. Please like and subscribe, and I will see you soon. Bye!